now we're gonna go over opposites.
Dun dun dun.
Okay, so let's say you have, let's go over an example because it's just easiest for me to explain this as an example. So let's say you have an integer of 4, okay? And your instructions tell you to find the opposite of 4. This is how we visually look at it, okay? So I will take the skill I learned from Miss Estrada too, that I loved, that she wrote, instead of marking it right on the number line, put an X where 4 is at. And when you think of opposites, you have to think about the distance from 0 to that number on the opposite side. Okay, so first I'm going to count how many spaces it took me to get to 4. So let's bounce, all right, literally. I'm going to bounce from 0.
Bounce.
1, 2, 3, 4. It took me 4 spaces to get to my integer 4. Now I have to do, to find the opposite, I have to go on the opposite side of 0, okay, the same amount of steps. So I'm going to bounce from 0 in the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there is the number that is opposite of 4. The opposite of 4 is -4.
And we've been talking about the reciprocal quite a lot lately. And we know that reciprocal means the opposite. And we know that the opposite also can be called the inverse. So if we find the inverse of 4, meaning the opposite, so if we flip it, we're just going to flip the bounces to the other side. And kind of think about it with our operations. What is the opposite of positive? Negative. So if we need to flip it, we're just going to take that positive and turn it right into a negative.
Yeah, just like our attitude. Oh wait, no.
Not like our attitude.
Not like our attitude. Unless we're starting in a negative, then we. Yeah.
Well, then we're going to turn that attitude upside down.
I have to think that through a little bit. Okay, so now let's look at an. Well, should I do another example of that? What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Or should I go into? Okay, I'll do another example. Okay, so now let's say
Let's start with a negative one.
we need to find the opposite of -7. Okay? So what do I do first? I gotta mark it on my number line. Where on earth is -7? It's right here.
How do you know it's right there?
Because it says it right here.
Well, it's also 7 to the left of 0. So that's how we can count.
Yes. Love it. Anything to the left of 0 will always be negative. Always. Okay. So I need to see how many bounces, how many spaces, how many steps does it take me to get from that number that they gave me to 0. Okay, so let's count. Let's bounce. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I like how clear her bounces are.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I gotta bounce in this direction, that same amount of numbers, okay? Let's bounce. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There it is. So the opposite of -7 is 7. Woo! Awesome possum. But wait, there's more. Sometimes they'll throw this at you. Hold up. You raise your hand. Awesome. Okay, so look, sometimes they'll tell you, find the opposite of the opposite
of the opposite.
of, and they'll give you a number, okay? Should you freak out? Should you go rock in a corner? Nah.
That's what I do.
Don't do that, okay? It's so easy. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, measy. Let me show you. So let's do an example. Opposite of the opposite of.
It's a word game. They're just trying to mess with you.
Yeah. So let's do opposite of the opposite of 2. All right, first and foremost, let's find it on that number line. Easy peasy. I know 2 is positive. There's nothing in front of it, so it's positive. It's right here. Now, to find the opposite of the opposite, we take the same steps we did before, only twice. So first, let's find the opposite first, the first opposite. Okay, let's take care of this opposite first.
Ooh, I like that you're going to use different colors for that too.
Yes, so I'm going to take care of that first opposite. And then, now you know what, let me use the colors I have in my hand. So I'm going to use this one. No, this is
Yeah.
two bounce. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let's use this one. Alright, so I'm going to find the first opposite of 2. First, the opposite of 2. So how many bounces does it take me to get to 0? How many spaces? 1, 2. So that means on the opposite side, I need to move 2 spaces as well. 1, 2. So the opposite of 2 is -2. But I'm not done, okay? They said the opposite of the opposite. So now I know this is the opposite. Oops. Now I need to find the opposite of this one, which is the second opposite they asked me of, okay? So now I'm going to start at -2, sorry. And I'm going to see how many bounces it takes me to get out of there to 0. So 1, 2. So now I got to go that many directions in the other direction, the positive direction. 1, 2. And my answer there is 2. So
Wow.
the opposite of 2 is 2.
That's crazy.
That is insane. I want to make it another example just to make sure you guys got it. But think of it this way too. The opposite of a number is the number itself. Let it sink in. Okay? The opposite of any number is that same number. Look at that. The opposite of 2 is 2. It's the same thing.
It's like the identity property.
Yeah. Okay? So let's do a negative number example. Some of you guys freak out with negative numbers, and you shouldn't freak out. It's just an integer. Alright, so let's do the opposite of -4. Alright, so let me put keep erasing the 0 little by little. 0's our hero, so let's not ignore him or her. Alright, so first let's find the number they gave us. Okay, -4. It's gonna be on the left hand side because that's where the negative numbers lie. And I'm gonna find -4 over here. Now I need to see how many bounces it takes me to get to 0. So the first opposite of -4 is 1, 2, 3, 4. It took me 4 times to get to 0. Now let's go back in the other direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the opposite of -4 is 4. So I'm going to mark that right here. Now, what's the opposite of 4? That's my second opposite I'm looking for. Okay? So I'm going to go back to 0, bounce. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means that's how many spaces I go in the negative direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I landed on -4. So my opposite of -4 is -4. And like I said, the opposite of any number is the number itself anyways. But this is the visual way. This is how you can see how they got from one place to another. Alright?